A major political and legal confrontation is unfolding in Minnesota as federal investigators and lawmakers turn their attention to what is being described as one of the largest public fraud cases in state history. Later today, the U.S. House Oversight Committee is scheduled to hold a hearing examining widespread fraud tied to Minnesota government programs. While the scandal has been under investigation for months, the focus is now expanding beyond individual defendants and nonprofit operators to include high-ranking state officials. At the center of the controversy is Minnesota's Attorney General, who is now facing questions over a private meeting that took place behind closed doors with individuals who were later convicted in a massive fraud scheme. According to prosecutors, the scale of fraud uncovered in the state is so extensive that investigators are now reviewing whether political oversight failures allowed the misconduct to continue unchecked for years. An audio recording from that private meeting has become a key piece of evidence drawing public scrutiny. In the recording, members of the group discuss political influence, campaign support, and the importance of backing candidates who would protect their interests. The conversation includes remarks emphasizing the need to insert themselves into the political process and financially support leadership that would stand behind them. The Attorney General has responded forcefully to the allegations. In a written statement, he said he attended the meeting in good faith, unaware of the criminal activities of those present at the time. He stated that he provided no assistance, favors, or promises and received nothing in return. He emphasized that he takes fraud seriously and has worked to hold offenders accountable. However, records reviewed by independent watchdog groups show that some individuals later convicted in the fraud case had donated to the Attorney General's political campaign. After those donors were convicted, the campaign reportedly returned the contributions. Federal authorities have released nearly an hour of audio from the meeting, which is expected to be referenced during today's congressional hearing. The recording has intensified debate over accountability and political oversight, particularly in connection with the massive, Feeding Our Future, fraud case that sparked the broader investigation. One of the convicted individuals connected to the scheme, now serving time, has publicly questioned why state leadership was not held responsible earlier. Through legal representatives, she has argued that state officials were aware of irregularities long before federal agents intervened and failed to act. She has called for accountability at the highest levels of state government, stating that responsibility should not fall solely on lower-level operators, while senior officials escape scrutiny. The controversy has also drawn national political attention. Former President Donald Trump has accused Minnesota's governor of being directly implicated in the fraudulent schemes, claiming the state leadership was aware of misconduct for more than a decade. The governor, who is not seeking re-election, has said he intends to take responsibility, but has also vowed not to resign. In a defiant statement, the governor said he will not step down and intends to fight the allegations, arguing that political pressure from Washington should not dictate state leadership decisions. The White House, however, has indicated that political statements will not shield anyone from ongoing federal investigations. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice has announced plans to send additional federal prosecutors to Minnesota, citing the overwhelming scale of fraud cases that still need to be reviewed. Prosecutors on the ground have stated that existing resources are not sufficient to handle the volume of investigations tied to the scheme. Estimates from federal officials suggest the total fraud could exceed $1 billion, with some projections placing losses as high as $9 billion in taxpayer funds. Court filings and plea agreements reveal that stolen funds were allegedly used to purchase luxury vehicles, real estate, expensive jewelry, and international vacations. As the financial scandal continues, a separate controversy has emerged involving immigration enforcement. State leaders have criticized federal immigration arrests, calling some operations excessive and a misuse of taxpayer resources. One official described a high-profile arrest involving dozens of federal agents as unnecessary and performative. Federal immigration authorities have pushed back strongly against that criticism. Officials argue that sanctuary policies limit cooperation with local law enforcement, forcing federal agents to conduct large-scale operations independently. They say Minnesota has become a focal point due to individuals allegedly abusing asylum and refugee systems. Immigration officials stated that many individuals currently under investigation entered the country under false pretenses and have remained in sanctuary jurisdictions where enforcement is more difficult. According to federal authorities, operations in Minnesota are focused on removing individuals who are not legally permitted to remain in the state. So far, more than 90 individuals have reportedly been arrested in recent enforcement actions, with officials noting that many arrests were connected to broader investigations involving fraud and identity misuse. Supporters of federal enforcement argue that large-scale operations are necessary due to increased threats, harassment, and violence against agents. Officials claim assaults and threats against immigration officers have risen dramatically, forcing law enforcement to increase security measures during arrests. As congressional hearings begin and federal investigations expand, Minnesota remains under intense national scrutiny. Lawmakers are expected to question whether systemic failures allowed billions in public funds to be misused, and whether political leadership bears responsibility for oversight lapses. With additional prosecutions expected and more evidence likely to surface, today's hearing may mark a turning point in determining how far accountability will extend and who may ultimately be held responsible.